Welcome to 60 Cycle Hum. This week's episode is brought to you by Gun Street Wiring Shop. Located in Bend, Oregon, Gun Street Wiring Shop is our go-to shop for custom wiring for any electric guitar, bass, or anything else you need wired. That is a guitar or a bass.
That's right, Steve. They make wonderful harnesses. I've got one in my SG back there. You've got two harnesses down here. We're doing this whole like NPR vibe right now, aren't we?
I guess.
It's nice and smooth and relaxing. I'm having a great time.
Go check out Gun Street Wiring Shop at gunstreetwiringshop.com.
This week's episode is also brought to you by Yellow Cake Pedals. I'm wearing their shirt right now. I've got the Furry and Fried in my hand. I just completed a demo for it today. Today being Friday, you're watching this on Monday, probably. So go check out the demo for the Furry and Fried. It is two classic, well-loved Yellow Cake circuits in one pedal. You've got the Furry Burrito and the Fried Gold. I've fallen in love with the Fried Gold, by the way. It's a really fun overdrive. Yeah. Who else are we sponsored by, Steve?
We're also sponsored by, like every week,
Of course.
Sinusoid Pro Audio. This week we're talking Sasquatch. That's their speaker cable and power cable series. You need a speaker cable or a power cable. You want something that looks nice, going to last a long, long time. Still has that 100-year lifetime. That's not a lifetime. That's more than lifetime.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be alive in 100 years.
That's how long a Bigfoot lives. That's where they get the lifetime warranty from.
Oh,
100 years.
Bigfoot lifetime.
A Bigfoot lifetime. A Sasquatch lifetime.
How's global warming going to affect that?
He's just going to have to keep moving north.
All
One
right.
day they're going to see a Bigfoot fighting a polar bear in the middle of the ocean.
Anyway, like I said, if you're looking for a speaker cable or a power cable, go check out what Sinusoid can do. They put TechFlex on a power cable. It looks super cool.
It's so beefy looking. It looks like as thick as Sasquatch's inner thigh. That's how thick we're talking. He's got a thick thigh.
Wow.
Yeah. Go check it out.
Sinusoid.com
They make cables.
and smiles.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Steve, and you're listening to 60 Cycle Hum, the guitar buying, selling, trading, modding, fixing, breaking, reviewing, playing. Steve is fiddling with a pen podcast.
I can fiddle with a pen too, you know.
Yeah, but I'm always fiddling with pen.
The worst part about doing these video episodes is that when I'm editing it, I have to watch all the dumb stuff I do on camera. Like all the fiddling. You'll notice we're sitting at a table now. We tried 2 weeks where we were just sitting in chairs, and I was just sitting there watching me swing my leg back and forth nervously.
I don't
the whole
even
time.
know. Like, that was so bad because I started getting self-conscious. So my left shoulder, now people are going to watch this now that I'm mentioning it. My left shoulder always just starts hurting after sitting in this chair for so long.
Uh-huh.
And so I'll start like rolling my shoulder like
Yeah.
about, especially on the second episode we record in a session.
We need the table to hold on to because it's such a wild ride.
What do I do with my hands?
Here we go.
All right.
We're doing video. Hold on.
Anyway.
It also the table also hides our guts,
That's true.
which is more
That's
flattering.
True. That's true. No one wants to see that.
Hey guys, my advice to you, if you want to look better on camera, sit behind a table. It's good
call.
advice, right?
Yeah. Great advice.
What's new, Steve?
I got a little update on my pedal board flipping.
Because
I
you got
sold-
that big pedal board.
Yeah, I sold 2 more pedals. I sold the Dunlop Crybaby and the MXR Phase 90.
Now, I'm not surprised about the Phase 90. I am surprised about the Crybaby. How much did you sell it for?
I sold both of them together for $90 to Kyle McIntyre from the Tone Jerks. I don't know why that's. It's funny because I actually
Did he need a wah? Has he been looking for a wah?
So what's funny is on the Tone Jerks, he was just talking about how he bought a wall that was like modded from from a pawn shop, and he bought that for $40. I was like, okay. I was like, so why do you want another wall? He's like, because I just need a stock one. Like I need one that I can mess around with, that I can mod.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, cool. So I sold him both of them. He came over to my place. We hung out in the alley, talked a lot of trash about you.
That's not surprising, I guess.
Actually, the real funny thing with that flip is I sold that. I guess it's not really.
What kind of things were you saying about me?
I don't remember. We were just talking about the space and how I'm not sure how we're ever going to incorporate another like a third person into this.
Oh, I don't
this
know.
room.
Well, if we had to, we'd figure something out.
We just need a round table and we put that person in the back.
I think we do need a round table. I think it would make things make
Yeah.
more sense in this room.
So the funny thing is, so I got that, and I immediately basically blew it all on beer.
Nice.
There was a guy,
And you didn't bring any today?
I did not, and it'll make sense why maybe. Well, I don't know. Did you hear about
I got
this?
water in my cup.
Did you hear about this already? My beer purchases?
No.
Okay, so there's a guy on the Nextdoor app in my neighborhood who was advertising that he had beer for sale that I bought from him. He had recently gone to France and took a little trip to Belgium and brought back some Westvleteren 8 and 12.
Whoa, nice.
So I got, in total I bought 4 bottles. One of them I sold to one of my coworkers, like at the same price that I bought them for. But this guy was selling for $35 a bottle. And when they have them stateside in like small shops, like Escondido's Holiday Wine Cellar, it's somewhere like $45.
So you're getting to try something that you normally
Yeah.
wouldn't buy for a price where you probably still wouldn't normally buy it.
Yeah, so here's the kicker. Here's what you maybe don't know about this yet.
Okay, I don't know it yet.
These are 12-ounce bottles.
Okay.
So
That's a little bottle for 30-something bucks.
Yeah, that's like not a pint.
Yeah. Well, I hope you enjoy them.
Yeah, well, it's supposed to be. It's a Rate Beer 100 or whatever beer site uses.
I
the
mean, if
100
there was
scale.
one here right now, I would drink it.
I'm sure you would.
It wouldn't be worth it in my.
Yeah,
No.
it's definitely going to be like a mood beer. Depending on how I feel when I get home from this tonight, I may crack one of them open.
Oh, did you bring one?
No,
Oh,
they're at my
okay.
house.
Oh, I see. I see what you're saying.
But yeah, I'm excited to try that out. But so I sold some pedals and then it was gone right away. So, oh well. At
You
least
and your hipsters and your avocado toast and your
yeah,
$30
my
beers.
$30. I've bought expensive beer before, but never like it's always been like wine bottle
Yeah.
sized beer.
I don't think I've ever bought a bottle of wine that costs that much.
Oh, I've never bought a bottle of wine that costs that much. I don't know
That's
enough.
some fancy pants stuff.
I don't know enough
30-something
about wine.
30
Well, you
something
know
bucks.
like the whole story on that, right?
I don't.
They basically you can only get it in Belgium,
Okay.
and like what will happen is whenever it's released, stores will try to get it in the U.S., but they can only buy like a limited number of like packs
Sure.
or like cases or whatever. So like it's not like you can just keep ordering it. So it's an extremely limited run. It's one of the highest rated beers of all time.
Huh.
It's made by, it's a 500-year-old recipe made by Belgian monks in a monastery.
Well, I'm curious to hear what you have to say
Yeah,
about it
I'm
after you
probably
try
going
it.
to drink it and be like, oh, huh.
With beer that expensive, are you going to get very specific with how you serve it to yourself, or are you just going to like pop the bottle and pour it down your throat?
Yeah, I'm just going to chug it. It's going to be one gulp.
Steve is going to butt chug it.
Wow. I think it's pretty strong too. I want to say it's like a 11 or so percent.
Sure. So now's the part of the show where you
Hey
ask
Ryan,
me
what's new with you?
Well, I don't know if you've noticed, but it's cooler here in the studio than
It is.
it is outside the studio. I went and spent some money from our crowdfunding from the Inner Circle on and used air conditioner
Yeah,
that I got on OfferUp. This is my first time
Okay,
ever
cool.
buying anything off of OfferUp.
yeah.
So I just had been sweating to death in the garage, and I had some demos I needed to get done. So last Sunday I was on OfferUp all day, just looking at every air conditioner that popped up,
Mhm.
and any deal that I thought was good, I would like hit the button, like I want this, get back to me. And the only person that got back to me was for I've got his name written on here, Gairy, Gairy.
Is that actually the name of the guy who you bought it from?
No, that's the name of the air conditioner that I
Okay.
gave to it after the late great producer Gary, who used to screw things up.
This
here on
is
the
also
show.
a producer, Gary. It's a cool producer, Gary.
A producer of cold air. So we are in an air conditioned studio right now, thanks to the Inner Circle.
Thanks, guys.
It made it possible. And I'm not just saying like, oh, it made it more comfortable. I'm saying it made it possible for me to get work done this week, because I could have not filmed in here without air conditioning.
Yeah. I was in between job sites this week, and every time I got in my car, granted, like this is stationary asphalt temperature. Actually, so I was with my coworker at Ballast Point yesterday, one of my coworkers for a going away lunch.
Okay.
And when we got in my car, I was like fiddling with some stuff, and I look, I'm like, man, this says it's like 103 degrees. And she looks at me and she goes, when you first started the car, it said 107.
Oh, jeez.
So like stationary asphalt temperatures in this area are like over 100 degrees.
It's been ridiculous, and the humidity is intense for San Diego right now. Like
the other day it was
bad.
like 85 degrees and like 85% humidity, which is insane.
Also, a few people wanted an update on the kitchen situation here at my house.
It's worse.
Last episode, I mentioned that I completely destroyed my house by leaving a faucet running overnight. So I don't remember what it was like last time you were here 2 weeks ago.
The dining room was tinted.
Stuff was tinted. That's right.
Yeah. The kitchen wasn't yet.
Right. So after that, they ended up completely tinting the kitchen. Oh yeah, there was still some of the laminate flooring and some like linoleum down last time.
I don't think there was any laminate down when I was over.
It was all concrete.
It was all concrete or like really old linoleum.
They had to tint the entire kitchen because there was asbestos in the original linoleum flooring and in the drywall that needed to get removed. So there was an abatement team here for like a week taking everything out. And then a few days later, the president makes asbestos legal again. Yeah. Should have just waited a week. Thanks a lot.
It's MAGA, dude. Make asbestos great again.
Make asbestos great again. We could have been breathing in that sweet, sweet freedom dust. Instead, the abatement team kept it from us like a bunch of selfish jerks. So anyways, the state of the
I mean, technically, they didn't just keep it from you.
They kept it all to themselves.
You paid them to keep it from you.
The insurance paid them to keep it from me. So anyways...
but you paid the insurance.
They stripped out all the affected drywall and replaced it and painted it all back up. We had a conversation with the cabinet guy a few days ago. Okay. So the ball is rolling on getting stuff back together.
Cool.
We'll see.
Are you gonna be able to get the same like cabinetry down below that you had?
That's the question.
Because I noticed all your lower cabinetry. Well, really, all that's left of your lower cabinetry are the vertical supports,
right,
for your countertop.
Yeah. So the cabinet guy says that he charges 30% more to match things and rebuild things that have been removed than to just completely like start over.
Right.
Like remove what's existing and build a whole new
So basically
unit.
It would be cheaper for him to just put...
There's maybe like 20% of the cabinetry left.
Right.
And the parts that are left...
all the top cabinetries, is that... The top's okay.
The island bar is jacked up. So they need to redo the island bar too.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of stuff that needs to get repaired that would be left. So he was looking at it like, I'm going to pitch the price of what it would be to rebuild what's left. And then they're going to ask me, the insurance company is going to ask him what would be the price just to start over. And he's like, I think they're going to take that. So we're probably going to get all new cabinets.
Fancy.
Which my wife is very excited about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to get all new floors, all new cabinets is the thought right now.
You know what your what's new should have been?
What?
Pregnancy desk.
Oh, my gosh. You know that that's not real, right?
It's not?
You don't remember this?
I want that to be real.
Okay, so my wife has been...
I showed it to my coworkers. They're like, that's real. I was like, it looks real to me.
That's because I'm good at Photoshop, dude.
Dang.
So 4 years ago when my wife was pregnant with my son, she hit this moment where she was like, I'm so pregnant, I can't work at my desk because my belly's pressing against my desk. And I was like, I could cut out a hole for you. Yeah. And she's like, no, let's not do that. This is a temporary problem. I was like, well, let me Photoshop it. And so she took a photo of me like holding a saw against the desk with no blade in it. And then I Photoshopped a cut into it. And so she hit that spot today where she's like, I think I need a hole in my desk. I was like, pull up the picture. Let's repost it.
Man.
So that was a 4-year-old picture that you saw today. It's convincing when you see it, though.
I looked at it. I was like, well, I've never really seen a jigsaw like that, but I guess it could be a jigsaw.
Yeah, it's like a handheld jigsaw thing.
Yeah.
A skill saw.
Oh, it is
or
a
whatever.
it is a jigsaw
Yeah.
or skill saw. Yeah. Okay.
So let's get into some actual guitar content, huh? This isn't bad. We're 15 minutes in.
Yeah.
We've done worse before
definitely
with the
done worse.
off-topic intro stuff. You know, I listen to some podcasts where I can't believe it. They get like 40 minutes in before they start to tackle the actual subject of that episode. You know? Like they just chew the fat about random stuff for the first 45 minutes.
I'm literally trying to figure out if you're trying to go somewhere with this. Or...
I'm not. I'm just
Okay.
saying that we do a good job, Steve. I'm proud
thank
of
you.
us.
Thank you. Yeah, we do. Try to get there.
Yeah.
This first ad
I found this.
was sent by Ryan.
That's me. I'm Ryan. Like 10 people will get that joke.
It actually took me a second. This is a vintage.
I'm Ryan.
This is a vintage electric guitar, $5,000. What I have here is a 1962 ES345. I purchased it from a vintage guitar shop in 1975 in DeKalb, Illinois. It was rewired from.
So when he bought this, this was 13 years old.
Yes.
This is like one of us buying a mid 2000s Strat or something like that. You know? My point is
Maybe a mid 2000s ES345.
yeah. My point is that when he bought it, it wasn't sacred.
Right. It was rewired from stereo to mono and has gone through modifications. I once had it routed for a Stratocaster type vibrato bar system. Then I changed to a Kahler vibrato system.
Is it Kahler or Collar?
It's Kahler. The guy's probably typing from memory. The clamp lock above the brass nut is a star clamp lock. In 1983, I snapped the neck, but had it repaired. The luthier did an amazing job. And as you can see by the photos, this guitar has been played on the road a lot. Don't let her worn look fool you. She sounds incredible and plays extremely well. Has capacitor, varitone, and everything is still in working order. I know that because of the modifications, it's not a collector's item, but she remains a respectable instrument. Make me an offer.
This is a tough one for me because I think I'm assuming the price is ridiculous, but he does say make me an offer.
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful. I really enjoy looking at this guitar.
The only thing I don't like actually about this, well, two things. One is that you have a close-up of is
Yeah, the butt end strap peg situation is ridiculous.
yeah.
It looks like there used to be a Bigsby on there, so some of those holes are from the Bigsby.
Oh, okay.
But some of the holes are definitely like, what the hell happened here?
Yeah, that's right. This
1,
this
2,
originally
3, 4,
had
5, 6, 7. I think the 7th hole is a giant, like where something got stripped out hole. But there are 7 holes, not counting the hole the strap button is currently in on the butt end of this guitar.
Now, I think if you wanted to make this look cool, what you would do is
Oh, it already looks cool.
shut up. No, just this particular portion is mount that strap lock. You'd have to get like a machine. I guess it'd be kind of tricky. No. Now it might be kind of tricky. To say you need to mount it to like a chrome plate.
Yeah, I
just don't like all these holes.
I vote for fill the holes and lacquer over them and leave it as is. This guitar has enough relicing on it, like natural relic, for that to not be an aesthetic issue for me. Let's talk about the cracking on the paint of this guitar.
Dude, the cracking on the paint looks awesome.
It is intense. This is the sort of thing that like relicers try to accomplish, and when they do it, it just looks too uniform.
Yeah.
And too mechanical, where this just looks incredible. It looks like some sort of alien snake skin, the way it flows around the shape.
It looks incredible.
The shape of the body and the randomness to it, but then somehow it's still like consistent across the body, and the little chips of paint missing here and there, and just the fact that it's this like really rad orange color.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited about it. This is a great look. The most questionable thing about this guitar is the hyper modification that was done to put a Strat bridge into here.
Yeah.
And then incidentally,
just
a collar. Yeah. I put a Strat bridge in there. Changed my mind. The routing behind this is intense. It looks like it was a pretty clean
So
job.
so this guitar didn't have a Bigsby on it. It had a trapeze.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
So it'd still be like a similar
like a
mount.
four screw mount at the strap button. You got to jump onto the photos in the episode description, or if you're watching the episode on YouTube, you are seeing these photos. But the route for the Strat bridge is just intense. It's so deep. I don't think it needed to be that deep either. They could have left a lot more wood intact.
Yeah, it's...
But it appears that the guitar is sound structurally. There's enough wood surrounding it that it was not an issue. It's just a lot. That is a lot. And I think that's the biggest thing dinging against the value of this guitar. Not to mention the locking nut. I'm assuming that means you could never retrofit it with a standard nut again.
No, this has
some
I
major
believe,
reconstruction.
Let me see if I
Is
can
it like
find
a drop-in thing that works?
Let me see if I can find a pulled. Is there...
There's the nut right there.
Ryan, I'm waiting for you to send me a full body shot.
Steve wants that full body shot.
I wonder if this is still up.
I have no idea what you're getting at because I got a picture
that's
of the
a
nut.
locking. That's like a locking nut. I believe it's above the nut.
Oh, really?
I could be wrong.
No, there's no way. Because you can see the little edge of the fretboard right there.
For some reason,
That's
I
a
thought
nut,
So
dude.
for some reason, I thought it was just a lock.
No, it's not behind the nut. It's a nut replacement. But maybe you can remove it and fit a normal nut into it again. But there are screws involved. Not that it really matters with this guitar.
So that nut is really like would be my other complaint. I really like that thing. Ugh. I've never liked the way that they look.
Yeah, it doesn't look good.
They're basically quick release nuts are great for
I can't think of a reason either,
bicycles.
Steve.
They should not be on guitars.
They are great on bicycle seats.
Yeah.
Pretty good for bicycle seats. I mean, the bridge and the nut modification are the things really dinging this guitar that really have me questioning the $5,000 price tag.
Yeah, so that's the other thing.
Even if it functions, it's just such a hard turn.
This either sold,
on the concept of this guitar.
or it's just not on Craigslist anymore.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Well,
I'm glad that, because the guy has so much history for it. My hope was that he would not get offers on it and just be like, I need to keep this.
It sounds like he's second owner, maybe third owner. So
I don't know how many
he's
people-
had it since 1975.
That's a long freaking time to own a guitar.
Yeah.
I don't care if he's the second, third, or 14th owner after this thing had been used for 13 years. He's the primary owner, in my opinion.
Right.
He's the one
For
who
sure.
did these modifications. He's the one who put all the love on this thing. He's the primary owner. And I think if this guitar legitimately plays and he's still able to play it or able to see it hanging on the wall, I think this is something he should keep.
How much?
And let his grandkids decide what to do with it when he's dead.
How much? At what price does this become interesting to you?
That's a good question. Ooh, it's low compared to what he's asking. I don't know what a 62 ES345 normally goes for. I'm assuming it's a lot. But for me to be like, yeah, I'm going to go pull money out of the bank and go pick this up, it's in the low thousands. Like, I'm talking like 1,100, 1,200.
Oh,
and then I'd be doing a lot of research into what these they go for stock and what highly damaged ones go for.
Yeah.
So that's my initial gut reaction, but I would not be just flying out the door. I'd be doing research.
So I'm trying to find anything. I actually didn't look on Reverb because I feel like this is a tough,
Yeah.
Usually eBay has a little wider net, though maybe fewer solds. There's a 1968 that didn't sell on eBay for $8K. There's been some other vintage ones that didn't sell, that were in the 7,000, 6,000. So I definitely think that at 5,000, this guy's still asking too much. I think
Oh, way too much.
I think for this to be interesting to me, I would definitely say, I would start getting interested maybe around 3,000.
Yeah, there's only two ES345 listings on Reverb. One is for knobs, original knobs from 1962 for $249. One's for original case for $375. Let's widen that search.
Is that just for? Did you only look for 1962?
I did.
Because I would say one of the things that you run into is that you do see. So here's a 1963 for 13,000.
Here's a 65 for 11 grand.
Yeah. So
here's a 68 for 6 grand.
But that's the thing is I don't.
But
think,
those are cherry looking.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if those didn't sell.
Yeah, totally.
I think some of those prices are kind of out there. Here's a 68 345 in Sunburst in really good condition for 4,900.
Okay, here's a 64 in cherry condition. No, cherry's the color, but it looks in decent condition for 4 grand. Yeah, I stand by my gut reaction of low thousand.
Low thousand.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would still have to find a listing for one that was highly damaged.
Right.
To compare this to.
Right. This has a repaired headstock, which means it's better than it was before.
Like, even if one was non-functionally damaged but could be repaired to stock, which this one cannot.
Right.
I would value it above this.
I definitely think I've seen these at least once or twice where somebody like completely stripped everything. All you're buying is like body and neck.
Yeah.
No pickups or anything. And it was like $500.
Is this basically the BB King guitar? With that roto switch? I don't know if his is different in any way.
I think his is different.
Yeah, there's probably
Because I
something
want to
special
say
about
his
it.
doesn't have F-holes.
Man, for the money these go for the new for the ones in good condition,
Yeah.
why would anyone buy a new one?
Yeah, the Gibson BB King model does not is a hardtail. It's actually like a specialty hardtail. And it does not have F-holes.
It doesn't have F-holes? That's interesting.
That's the BB King signature model.
Interesting. Man, you can just... Here's a 1960 ES335 with a hardtail. It's a Freddie King signature for 4 grand.
Yeah.
Why would anyone buy a new one?
Well, even the new ones I don't think are much more than that.
But that's what I'm saying. Why would anyone buy a new one when you could buy a vintage one? Unless there's something about these guitars that I don't know. Maybe they weren't great or something.
No, they're real different.
I know 335s are the one that everyone wants. But the 345 looks fun to me. All right, do we have anything else
It's
to
kind
say
of like
about
an
this
upper
ad?
model because of the Veritone. I don't think it's that people don't want them. It's just that they tend to be just harder to get.
Or maybe it's like everyone knows the 335, so they
Right.
search for that, so they never notice the 345s.
Yeah, that's a pot. Yeah, I'm not sure. I played like one of these, not this one, but something similar in Guitar Center once, and they're really different.
Oh, really?
I mean,
Like different? How like a Rickenbacker is really different?
No, like not like that. Like just I've never. I guess I've never played like a current new Gibson semi-hollow. But this thing was completely different from like any semi-hollow I'd played. Like it just was like super resonant and just very. I don't know. Like it's hard.
My wife was just asking where her burrito is.
It's just very.
It's in the fridge.
It kind of felt like I was playing like an acoustic guitar that had like paper on under the strings, if that makes sense.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was a really cool feel.
Do you have much experience with semi-hollows?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
So I don't really have a lot to compare it to.
I really want the Pure Salem semi-hollow that doesn't have F-holes. I think it's a really cool
I don't know
look.
if I've seen that one.
It only comes in 2 colors. It's like black and olive green. I really wish it came in a lighter color, and I would probably do my demo guy begging thing for
Oh
one.
my gosh.
That's a pretty pathetic thing to admit. But I would maybe try to work something
Hey,
out.
if you can make it work.
Yeah,
make it work.
I mean, we got all this stuff back here. It works sometimes.
Yeah.
Should we jump onto the topic?
Yeah, this topic was sent by Austin Gainey. He says virtual jamming in the future, like you and your band/buddies all Oculus Rift into a predetermined virtual jam space, garage, stadium, whatever you want. But the interaction/feel/sound/lack of latency potentially good enough to feel authentic while playing, but mainly about how you think tech will evolve for scenarios like that. So I guess the first question is like,
I think the tech is already there.
Yeah.
Just no one's put it together well enough. I know there are websites and are like apps that do it, but like I think that's going to become a thing where it's like you can just do it natively in Facebook, you know?
right. I think it would be a matter of like it's just getting everybody on the same page with like an extremely high speed, highly reactive internet connection. Because like a typical, like I don't know do you know what is considered the minimum latency for real time?
Oh, are you asking me like that? You think I'm gonna know the answer for any like technical internet question?
Well,
Or,
no,
like,
because I'm saying like okay, if you're recording into like an interface, do you know
I'm
what
flabbergasted that you would expect this kind of information from me.
you've recorded?
I've recorded. I haven't like live broadcast or look into that information.
Okay. Well, because I know, like, the reason I'm asking is because I know, like, with wireless, like, that's one of the things with the New X Wireless and with the Boss Wireless and all these different companies that are doing wireless, is people always say, like, well, what's the latency like?
Sure.
Like, that's the complaint with, like, Bluetooth wireless, is Bluetooth wireless tends to have, like, a noticeable latency.
Yeah.
So it's, and then, you know, when you're talking about like, I'm sending it from me to you, like, remember when we interviewed Jonathan
Yeah.
from Rogue Guitar Shop?
Yeah, and we did it over the phone.
I forgot what those guitars were called. Anyway. TMG, yeah. And we did over the phone and like, I could hear you in the other room and then
Yeah.
like a full, like, I don't know, like 250 milliseconds later, I would hear you in my headset, just enough for me to be like, "What in the world?"
It was hard for us to do, and it's kept us from doing things like that again.
Yeah. We're just,
So what does? Let's not talk about the technology
Okay.
required for you to have a virtual meetup band scenario, say like a 3 or 4 piece. What does the user experience look like for you, minimum, to be able to have it be functional?
I think you'd have to be able to see the other people.
Is resolution important to you? Like if it was just like super low resolution, like sub 480, but you could see real quick in real time, like the movements of the drummer. Would that be good enough for you? So you can see that, you know, the hammer's coming down on the snare. And it syncs with the audio, which is really low latency.
As long as the audio was synced together, like I think that would probably,
for it to be super low res.
I don't know because I think about what would be functional, and sure that would be functional, but then I also think like what are like my actual demands?
But also like you have to think that that's an added thing for each member to have to set up video on their side. I think in the case of the drummer's a really good person for everyone to be able to watch.
Yeah.
I know it's a trope and a joke that the lead guitarist is always turning around and looking at the drummer and what can we do to get them to stop doing that?
Well, and I think that kind of rolls into like what Austin is saying is like, what if, like, so in his scenario, he's saying like you're putting on like a virtual reality headset and all of a sudden you're all dropped into a predetermined space. Right? So that's like his scenario is like, okay, say I'm at my house and you're...
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun to do a virtual reality thing.
And you're here and
it would be like living in a music video.
Yeah, it'd be
playing in a music video.
You throw on your virtual reality headset and
then people could watch you in virtual reality?
Yeah, sure.
That sounds like a blast.
That's the future.
That sounds like a blast.
Yeah.
I'd totally be down for that.
The problem is you know how this technology is going to get developed, right?
Through porn.
Yep.
For me to get there, I had to think, what kind of answer is Steve thinking of? I didn't have to think, oh, what kind of technology would develop this? Because that would be the long way around to get to that answer.
I don't think it's a very long way
And
around.
I'm not accusing Steve of being a porn addict in any sort of way. It's definitely not.
You're just making it worse.
I'm making it worse.
No, but I think because it's like you're talking about like live stream,
Steve
like
the porn addict
Oh,
is the episode
jeez.
title. I'm not actually writing that down. It won't actually be the episode title.
like when you think about like live streaming technology, where it's like even that I guess is like I guess I'm thinking of like a few years ago. Do you remember like Omegle chat roulette,
Yeah.
like that kind of stuff? So I'm thinking of like that kind of a thing. But like now you're like we're talking about it being developed into something more
The real
functional
I
for
mean-
like musicians, I guess.
I think the technology is gonna catch up faster than the musicians will, because the real barrier here, we know the technology is gonna catch up, and because things are getting faster, and if you live somewhere with
Right.
fast enough internet, it's gonna be fine. The real barrier here is home recording setups for each individual musician. If you're playing with your drummer and they don't have the kit mic'd up
Oh,
well, like it's not going to be a decent experience for you. I'm sure there's a minimum barrier there, like,
I mean,
2 condensers hanging over the whole kit is probably fine for practice, but it wouldn't be good for performance.
the flip
if you're
side of
doing
that
virtual
though is,
performance.
if you're really wanting to like key in virtual performance, what does it take to get like a
mix.
stripped down version of say like a Roland TD electric kit?
Sure.
But say you take that kit, but now instead of like having to have the controller with all of this information, you get the TC electronic version of that where you just download the drum print that you want.
Sure.
And so now like, oh, I'm doing a Zeppelin cover, gonna dial in that
Yeah.
that 70s Ludwig Acrolite kit.
I mean, it all comes down to like what compromises people are willing to deal with.
right.
Even with the guitars and the vocals and things like that, you have to compromise with your interface or how you're mic'd and how you're experiencing the rest of the band through this virtual experience.
Mhm.
It'll be very interesting to see if something like this becomes a mainstream solution. We got this ad sent to us, which connects to this. It's going to be a 4-ad episode incorporating this with a
Of a
topic.
sort. This was sent by David Luna.
And it is a book. There's a ton of
yeah,
text
I'm
here.
going to jump around to kind of keep it tied in.
Let's just give like a overview of the
so
concept
this is somebody
of it.
saying it says so basically the long and short of it all, that's directly from the ad. I want to start an all queer member band. I play drums and have a potential female lead vocalist, but still looking at other vocalists. Bonus if you play an instrument as well. So basically, because this person says she says one of the asks is to have this same burning passion to play. Obviously, the other ask is you are a queer musician anywhere on the LGBTQ plus spectrum. I'm a trans one myself. So one of the things that they say is, finally the logistics. So I live in Wyoming, which means I don't have a lot of options up here for this opportunity. So that's why I'm looking everywhere I can. So David, I think, actually lives in New Mexico.
Right.
And basically they say, we can make this work and just be effective as a band, even if we work online, Skype, email, Facebook, etc. I figure anytime we can't get together, we can chat about songs we want to work on, record/stream out practices, and then when the opportunity presents itself, we'll come together to jam when we can. After a lot of hard work and dedication, I figure we can, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So basically, it's kind of a thing where you are trying to develop an entire band and have
remotely.
a somewhat band experience remotely. I've known people who have done this.
This is completely possible in this day and age. I've got this thing back here that just arrived this past week. I got connected up with one of the guys from Isotope in Germany at Gearfest, and they sent me the Spire. You could totally run a remote band if you all have one of these things, because you can record super easy with it. your parts and then send the file super easy to your bandmates, and then
Right.
they can record over it, and you can send a file back and forth and really hash out a song with one of these things really easily. I spent about an hour recording with it the other night while watching TV with the headphones on, and it's like
Did you have the headphones on for the TV or the headphones on
for the Spire,
Okay.
but you can set tempo with a click track in there, so everyone's on the same page,
Right.
and stack tracks and edit tracks and stuff like that. And so if everyone in this band that she's trying to put together had something like this, it would be super easy to spitball songs and to
Right.
work on songs. It would be easier than what you do for a band that you can meet up with.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, I've known people who have kind of done it via email where like someone will be like, hey, I play guitar.
Sure.
I've got this thing. And like, so they'll send you like the guitar track that they've recorded using a click. So it's all in time. And then they just send it to you. And maybe they'll say like, oh, here's the tempo. So you can like line it up on your own. And usually it's like a guitar player and they're like, oh, anyone out there play bass? I'm going to send you this guitar
Yeah.
track, drop some bass on it. And, oh, hey, anyone out there a drummer, this and that and whatever. And then of course, more, I guess maybe, not maybe, a lot more widely known, the long ago Death Cab for Cutie side project, the Postal Service,
Sure.
was literally Ben Gibbard from Death Cab for Cutie, and I don't remember what the guy's name, but he was from an electronic music this group called, or maybe it was one man, I'm not sure, called Dintel, literally sending tracks to each other through the Postal Service,
Right.
which is how they got their name. So it's like people have done this whole idea of like, I'm gonna record a demo, I'm gonna send it to you, tell me what you think, and add some parts. So he'd record part of a song and he'd send it off, and the guy would like, oh, well, what do you think about this and whatever, and they would just send these tapes back and forth until they came up with complete songs. And then I guess at some point they probably got together and actually all sat down in the same studio and hashed it out.
It's honestly kind of a beautiful thing looking at this ad, is that you have someone who wants to start a very specific band with very specific membership, which I'm assuming, I don't want to sound like I'm dogging on Wyoming, but I'm assuming would be very difficult to do in Wyoming.
I feel like starting a band in Wyoming is already
It's
problematic.
already going to be difficult.
There's like more people in Mira Mesa than there are in Wyoming.
Right. It's a challenging environment just because of the lack of population, let alone the very niche nature of what this person wants to
Now,
form.
maybe if you wanted to start a country band in Wyoming.
But then you open it up to, where are you? Are you anywhere and you want to collaborate on this, and the technology exists for us to collaborate and be a band without actually being in the same room together.
Right.
And it's pretty beautiful. It's pretty amazing. You know? I'm into it. And I hope this person finds the members that they need to work on their project and that it all goes smoothly.
Yep. All right, let's do some housekeeping. We had 3 people jump on and give us some support since the last time we sat down. Craig Breslin, thank you for your support at the $1 level. This is all through Patreon, patreon.com/60cyclehum, I think.
And just so you know, there are 2 Patreons for us, one for the YouTube channel and one for the podcast. We're talking about the podcast one right now.
I don't even know actually offhand what the short...
It's got a slash and a YT after it for the YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. Also, the colors are different for the different Patreons.
Yeah, I saw that.
The YouTube Patreon is blue, and the podcast Patreon is the gray color.
Right.
Yeah.
So also Michael Ponar and Aviv Chitrit. Gosh, we got some tough names this week. Both jumped in on the Inner Circle level, so hopefully by the time this episode drops, I have you guys at least in the Inner Circle group. Inner Circle gets some merch. They get into it's kind of
the backstage
Facebook group, backstage group.
Yeah, you get to see all the you get to see how the sausage gets made. You get to interact with us and help us make decisions. You are, part of the democracy of the show, as far as I'm concerned. If you're in the Inner Circle,
I think of it as less of a democracy and more of
it's a theocracy. We worship Steve.
I was gonna say it was like an advisement team to the dictators.
Okay, sure.
But if you want to call it a democracy,
Are they
which is
czars?
yes, we are Obama.
Sorry to get into politics, but remember when one side of the political spectrum was very upset the other side of the political spectrum, the people in charge at the time had appointed someone to be, their title was a czar of something.
Yeah, yeah.
And now our current political system is very friendly to the type of government that would appoint people as czars traditionally. It's a very interesting flip, wouldn't you say, Steve?
Would I or wouldn't I?
I don't know. Whatever you feel comfortable with.
I would
are we
say
done with housekeeping.
Maybe I would today, but tomorrow I wouldn't.
We'll see.
Yes, we're done with housekeeping.
Let's get into the next.
I think at this point, I would say if you want to support the show, definitely do it through Patreon because it's just a lot easier to manage.
It's really easy to manage. And Patreon is a trusted source. It doesn't seem to be going anywhere. So
yeah, and if it's everybody on all sorts of platforms are using Patreon, so you can kind of do it all at one place.
We get the same amount of money, really, no matter what you use. But for organization, Patreon is the best for us right now.
They just need to find a way to set PayPal up for recurring payments, where PayPal just sends $10 on your behalf.
Yeah, that might be harder to track, though. Like, Patreon really does make it easy for this sort of thing. No, if just
all of a sudden we're like, oh, this person didn't pay us, bye.
If it told us that they stopped paying us. I could see PayPal working out some sort of internal crowdfunding service.
That is the upside of Podbean, is Podbean tells you when someone cancels or when their payment fails.
Patreon does that too.
Patreon does not do that.
Oh, it doesn't?
No.
I get notifications on the YouTube Patreon saying when people change their pledge.
When they change it, but if they cancel it, I don't think they notify you.
That's interesting. Whatever.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
All right, this next ad was sent by Ethan LaFont.
Sure was.
We loved this ad so much that we actually put it into.
We both uploaded it.
Drive.
What did you name yours? Are they back to back?
I called it Weird Tuner.
I called mine the VU Tune. They are back to back, aren't they?
Yep.
That's funny.
Vintage weird ass guitar tuner from the ancient times.
You did a better screen grab because you got a picture of the whole. You got that other picture of it. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, because I didn't know if you were going to see it. I wanted to make sure you could see how it was mounted.
Yeah. Oh, I see. It's a headstock tuner.
This is $42. It says, here's a totally weird guitar tuner from the 1970s. It attaches to your guitar headstock, and then as you strike the string, the little orange tabs vibrate when you are in tune. It requires no batteries and is an incredibly stupid idea. It is one of those technologies that we should all be glad went extinct. That said, it is an incredibly interesting and rare piece of guitar tech that we should all remember just in case you're at a party and someone says, you know what would be a cool idea? You can immediately pull this out of your pocket, shove it in their stupid faces and go, no, this is stupid. You are a stupid person and this has already been tried and it failed.
In this scenario, you carry this around with you to a party, waiting for someone to have the idea for this.
Yeah.
That's never going to happen.
Incidentally, this is how I attend most parties these days, with pockets stuffed full of crappy gadgets and a bad attitude.
This is waiting for people to bring up an idea for, like, they mentioned an idea for a gadget that you didn't bring to the party, but you've got it at home, and you're like, damn it.
Yeah.
I've got one of those at home.
It's in great shape for its age, mainly because it's such a failure at being useful. It has lived its whole life languishing in its original box, dreaming of the day that it could resonate sympathetically to a musical instrument and then immediately be frowned at disappointingly and then put back in its original box. It comes with instructions on how to do this. On how to frown disappointingly?
You know what, honestly? Like, tuning is probably the biggest problem that musicians have faced across the ages.
True.
Can we agree on that?
I can't tune anything by ear.
I can get close to tuning it to itself, but I'm far away from having perfect pitch and being like, there's an A, you know? I can tune a guitar to itself all day. It would be a lot of fun to have a display case full of vintage tuning concepts. I mean, you've got the classic, tuning
like
fork.
the strobe tuners.
Yeah, but even like when I was a kid, the first guitar I learned on was my mom's acoustic
You have
from
a
the
pitch
70s.
pipe?
She had one of those round pitch pipes. Have you
Yeah.
ever seen one of those?
Yeah.
And I think we had one of the pan flute pitch
Yeah.
pipe style ones.
That was what I was visualizing at
It
first.
would be fun to get a collection of obsolete tuners built up as like a display thing, you know? Like some people collect shot glasses, like that would be my collection.
I'm really
you know?
interested in this just because, like,
I'd love to
I
see
want to
it
see how it
function.
works. Yeah.
I'm really thinking like, how's it pronounced? Sympathetic vibration or
Yeah.
sympathetic?
Sympathetic.
Sympathetic vibration. Like that's the concept that there's a ideal resonant frequency for a material, and when you hit that, it'll just go,
Yeah.
and it just you can't stop it very easily, or just
Right.
You know, it's like the concept of like Nikola Tesla or Edison or one of those guys
It's
back in the day,
Tesla.
like tried to do it to a bridge, like to destroy
Yeah.
a bridge by hooking up a
Like
little
if you
device,
could hit
and
the,
like try to find the resonant frequency
yeah,
of
if
the
you
bridge
could find the resonant frequency of a building on like its primary
support or whatever.
support, like you could take down the entire building with just like a single engine.
Exactly. So the idea here is that when you're tuning the guitar, when you hit just the perfect frequency, this little tab that's in this box that mounts to the headstock would start just vibrating like crazy.
Yeah.
And there's 6 tabs, one for each, standard tuning string on the guitar. So it would be interesting to see if it does actually have enough resonance in the headstock to cause those little tabs to just go crazy, and how quickly you could tune a guitar doing that.
Yeah.
I'm curious about it, and I believe the guy that it's worthless and a terrible idea.
Well,
And
it
that the
kinda seems like you would
implementation
have
is
to-
rough.
Like, how would you know which direction to go?
Also, it's like the way it connects. Well, you have to know, at least have enough ear training to know which direction to go with it. Like, that's fair, right? But the way that it mounts to the guitar headstock is over the top.
Yeah.
Like, I think there should have been just a little clip behind it that would mount it directly pressed against the headstock. It's got this giant, it looks like a plastic, like a medical plastic
Yeah.
arm that looks like you have to screw clamp it to your headstock. It looks dangerous. It looks too bulky. And it looks like it separates the tuning mechanism too far away from the headstock. Like it's separating it from the source of the
It's just a
vibration.
well, it's like, I guess it's assuming the plastic is going to vibrate along with the
Yeah, but
I mean,
I look at that
effectively,
kind
that's
of
how, like,
plastic and I don't think resonance.
that's how like any headstock tuner works, though. It's not, there's no microphone in a headstock tuner. It's working
But
off of,
it has technology in it that amplifies the signal and
sure.
knows how to work off of that, you
Sure.
know? This requires a physical interface for it to work.
I think there should just be a shelf for just weird things that attach to your headstock. Like those,
Sure.
like the Fender
The
fat, finger.
fingers. So it would be a fat finger, a capo,
This thing.
A
Are
tuning-
capos weird?
a tuning headstock. I think they're weird. Bunch of perverts clipping things on your guitars. Capos. Gross, dude. Keep it in the bedroom.
I always like to.
I have a
you have
headstock
one over
tuner.
here.
Did you spot it? Where is it? Oh, the capo.
So
There's a headstock tuner on the Bullet.
I've got my Telecaster, and I don't know what it is, but I always really like to take my capo.
I'll describe what he's doing. He's clipped it onto.
And I realize like that's kind of the only place to put it.
Yeah, he's clipped it onto the lower bulb on the tip of the Telecaster
But like
headstock.
I always really like the way it covers up like just whatever words are there. Like I always think that looks really cool. I don't know why.
I get it. It's not a bad look. Do you like how I called capo owners perverts and then you pulled out my capo?
Yeah.
Okay, I admit it. I'm a pervert.
I think the other thing that I like about it is in my head it's so dumb because a capo weighs what, like an ounce?
Yeah.
But it's kind of like that fat finger thing where I'm like, I don't know why, but like I just feel like my guitar sounds better when there's a capo on the headstock.
You should hot glue a bunch of quarters and like silver dollars to your capo to get
Oh my gosh.
extra mass on your headstock. I'm surprised that's not a thing. A capo that has extra mass to it, or a specific mass for the the snake oily way of pitching that it adds sustain to your guitar.
Right.
Whatever. Next topic.
Yeah.
This is a silly one.
This popped up 10 days ago.
I hope you're ready to get goofy, because that's what we're gonna do.
We're
gonna make some jokes, guys.
There is a company headquartered in Nashville, Tennessee. It's located in the greater Nashville area. It's part of the music industry.
Yes.
Privately held company that is more than 10 years old.
Is it well known?
Has 1,001 to 5,000 employees.
That's a big gap. Like, I feel like that should be more specific.
And a 2017 estimate of $2 billion in revenue.
Okay, that's a lot of revenue.
They are
For a musical instrument company, anyways.
They are looking for a chief executive officer,
a CEO
who functions as CEO/president, general management, operations, and strategies.
It sounds like you're reading a job listing.
Yes. The known requirements are prior experience in a major consumer products company required, prior experience in a recognized brand, including digital, social engagement, and e-commerce required, experience in acquiring and integrating complementary business preferred, private equity experience, including a successful, quote, exit preferred, music industry experience preferred,
huh?
prior P&L experience with global premium brands preferred.
What is P&L?
I don't know. You will have 9 direct reports.
Pizza and lasagna.
And you will travel less than 10% of your time at this company.
I mean, 10% is still, a fun amount of travel to get out once every 10 days.
Yeah.
Get out of the office.
What is P&L?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Profit and loss.
Okay. So this is a job listing, an advertisement to hire a CEO for Gibson.
Yeah.
Because they're looking.
Yep.
They want a new guy. This is great news, Steve.
All right,
this
let's
is
see.
what we've been wanting forever, to get rid of the old
boss
and get a new boss.
Apparently,
there's a music reference for you if you want one.
Apparently, he is on his way.
Already
on his way out.
Yeah.
Like that, he's a transitional. I guess he's like a consultant currently, something like that. So let's see. Prior experience in a major consumer products company. I mean, I ship T-shirts. Are we major?
I feel like I'm more qualified than the previous CEO.
Prior experience in a
maybe not in all like the high business, like big business doings and coming and goings or whatever, but I feel like I learn on my feet. I could pick that stuff up as I go.
Prior experience in a recognized brand. We're kind of recognized, including digital, social engagement.
Are you pitching that both of us,
including digital, social, as one unit? Digital, social engagement, and e-commerce required. Well,
that's us.
2 out of 3 ain't bad. We don't really do e-commerce.
Hey, we've sold pedals.
Experience in that was not e-commerce. That was basically pen and paper. Experience in acquiring and integrating complementary businesses. Yeah, because that worked out real well for Gibson in the past. That's why they're in this mess to begin with.
Yeah. When has it ever worked well for Gibson? They bought Epiphone. What other brands have they bought that have worked out super well?
I don't know.
None that I can think of that are. I mean, someone's going to comment.
Like Baldwin, maybe.
Someone's going to comment and mention all the brands that they own that are doing just fine. But it's like you think about like the record player company or like the microphone company. It's like these are novelties,
Well, I know, like
they bought Philips, right?
I think Philips but I think the Philips acquisition is part of what's tanking them.
When they bought it, it was tanking, and then it continued to tank, and they weren't able to do anything with it. The only thing I remember ever from Philips is their commercials from the '80s, like with the guy who was like trying to act like he was a brilliant genius, and like, oh, Philips stuff is so smart. Look how smart it is. Basically, Dyson, the vacuum company, stole their shtick from Philips. I'm a brilliant vacuum maker. Where with Philips, it's like, I'm a brilliant TV maker.
So the listing on Wikipedia is Baldwin Piano, which is probably doing okay. Serwin Vega is probably doing okay. Dobro, Epiphone, Esoteric. I don't know what that is. Harmony Central. I remember actually when that happened.
Oh, they tanked it.
And everybody was like, well, that's the end of Harmony Central. Like, as soon as, because Gibson had to come out and be like, we're just like buying it for like the ad space. Like we're not gonna like send in the goon squad to like scrub this side of all negative Gibson press.
I don't know if they ever did or they didn't, but it definitely like killed the vibe over there. And every time I look at something that's been on Harmony Central, I'm like, it just feels like a ghost town.
Yeah. Integra. I don't know what that is.
This sounds like a company that makes pills.
Kramer guitars.
Yeah, because they've done a ton with Kramer.
Well, I think it's interesting to see how like Charvel and Jackson have kind of had this ebb and flow over the years. Kramer's just stayed as junk.
Yeah.
KRK Systems, which is studio monitors. Maestro, which is Walmart guitars.
Well, Maestro is the Epiphone to their Epiphone. You know, it's a sub-brand of a sub-brand.
That's very kind.
Yeah.
Onkyo, which is home entertainment or like pro audio, not pro audio. What do they call that? Is it pro audio? When it's like just, what is it? Best Buy
How many
sells?
are left to read, Steve?
Slingerland, Stanton, which Stanton is turntables. Steinberger, which is like interfaces. Or is that the...
That's the headless guitars.
That's headless guitars.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah.
Tascam.
That's an all right one.
Teak Corporation. Remember those guys?
No.
They used to make like... I know they used to make reel-to-reels. I don't know what else they've made.
They have a bunch of legacy brands.
Tokyo Electroacoustic Company. That's what they are. And Tobias, which is also bass guitars.
Right. They have a bunch of legacy brands and a bunch of like small time brands that they're not really doing anything with.
Yeah.
If you and I got hired as one cohesive unit.
Oh, Onkyo Corporation is also Pioneer.
Okay. Well, that's probably doing fine. What would you do with Gibson if you became the CEO? Like, what would be your focus? Pitch it to me, Steve. Do you want this job or not?
I mean, I think the main thing that everyone has talked about is that the guitar wing needs to be spun out, like back into, because the guitars are profitable. Like despite what everyone
that's what the news says.
Complaints about you know, quality control and whatever.
Mom and pop shops ruining the biz.
So that's Henry complaining.
Yeah.
And that's probably why they're saying they want someone who has like digital, like social engagement experience, because clearly like Henry J's interaction with
it's abysmal
with the media and with social media has been awful.
Yeah.
And you know, the crazy thing is that like, and maybe it's just, you know, something that has to happen no matter what every 20 years or geez, I don't know.
How long has he been CEO?
Since like the 80s.
I mean, there's been some good times and there's been some real bad times in that.
So here's the thing to consider. When Henry J and Berryman, I'm not sure who Berryman is because I'm not going to read that far, took over in 1986. Sales for Gibson guitars, it says, were below 10 million. I assume that's annual.
Dollars or units?
$10 million.
Okay.
So it says the company was within 3 months of going out of business when Henry Juskowitz, David Berryman, and Gary Zabrowski bought it in 1986. Wholesale shipments in 1993 were an estimated $70 million, up from $50 million in 1992. So they basically had continuous growth from like the late 80s or like the mid-late 80s up through like the 90s. So Henry J was part of the team that like turned the ship around.
But is it the scenario where like, oh, people are like, oh, we finally figured out how to get rid of this major crime wave that's been, you know, cursing the city or cursing the nation. But then really what happened is that this generation of people who were natural criminals aged out of being criminals, you know, is this a situation where the company was in trouble because in the mid-early 80s, everyone wanted super strats. And then you get to the late 80s, Slash shows up in Guns N' Roses. The taste for guitar skews to more vintage.
Would you say that people took on more of an appetite for destruction?
But I'm just saying, and you shifted out of new wave during that time, where pop music was shifted back to guitar and was less synth heavy. He might have done business things that helped, but I look at that time frame and I'm like, I bet a lot of guitar companies that were producing classic style instruments were doing better during that time frame.
A lot of companies were suffering, but there were definitely a number of bad corporate decisions. Kind of, a lot of people say kind of like the bad corporate decisions that have been happening recently.
Yeah.
You think about okay, so 1974, Gibson is purchased by, or becomes a subsidiary of Norland Musical Instruments. And that's when the Norland period is when Gibson went from being a cool thing under that's Frampton era, right? 1974.
Right.
That's the middle of Frampton fever. Is that a thing? Anyway, it's when it's when you think about Frampton, you have Led Zeppelin.
Sure.
Gibson guitars should have been flying off the shelves. Norland comes in and basically in 10-ish years destroys the company. Think about what else was going on in that same time period. When was the Gibson RD, which is one of my favorite body shapes, but I get why it was such a weird
Right. I don't know when that came out. I feel late 70s.
Let's see, the 40th anniversary was in 2018. Is that correct? So that would have put it out in 1978.
Let's not cover every part of history forever because we're running long already.
I'm not trying to hit every part of history. I'm just saying,
sure.
Think about what they were coming into. Think about the Gibson Sonics,
Right,
and the Gibson Avenger,
well,
and all of these garbage.
We're trying really weird stuff in the 80s.
Yeah, Fender was doing it too, and
because
Fender
the market was so disrupted by synths, basically, and by electronic music and hip hop showing up and stuff like that. The market was disrupted. People were making different kinds of music, and it took a couple years for people to get back into making guitar music again.
Right. I would say that.
So people were throwing any idea they could against the wall to see what would stick, and I get it.
I would say that given that. I don't know this for other companies, but given that Gibson. The Wikipedia article is saying that Gibson was 3 months away from just being non-existent.
Sure.
That's probably more extreme than what Fender was facing.
Oh, sure.
Or what, other brands in the time. And I know when we talked to...
Well, it sounds like they had 10 years of bad business going on.
Yeah, I think, I think it was when we talked to, was it us or someone else I'm thinking of?
Did we talk to us?
No, talking to Bob Taylor, where he said he kind of just snuck into the industry at the right time.
Right.
He got in this, and this was that same time period when business was bad across the board for musical instruments. But it seems like maybe Gibson got hit a lot harder. Anyway, point being, I think anyone who's coming in, they need to put the ideas back in the hands of people who actually have good ideas.
Yeah.
And I think maybe part of that is that when you're growing a business, you can't just stagnate, but you also can't, unless you're Apple, force ideas onto your consumer base.
Well, the ideas have to make sense and they have to be functional.
Right. And so, Apple, I guess, has they've been able to pull off we're going to get rid of CD player, the CD player on your computer and the DVD player on your computer because USB is better technology.
Right.
We're going to do this.
Also, you can buy a CD player for $20.
Can you? I don't know.
Yeah, a USB CD player.
I have not priced a USB CD player.
All that stuff is super cheap.
My computer still has a DVD player, and I just bought it last year.
I never play CDs. I never play DVDs.
That's how I installed TurboTax.
You can download that.
Yeah, but I didn't pay for it. I just got it from somebody else.
I see. Okay.
It was my parents.
Do you think it's important for Gibson to have a new CEO that is a guitarist or that has prior experience in the music instrument industry? Or do you think it would be better for an outsider who comes in? You can get a musician to come run the company and it'll still just be garbage because they have their own particular idea of what Gibson is supposed to be to them, and they miss the point of what it's supposed to be for everyone else, the vast majority of the consumers, where it might be better. I know I asked you the question. I'm giving you my answer before I let you answer.
That's fine.
But it might be better if they bring in someone who is an outsider. I mean, Leo Fender didn't play guitar. He was an outsider.
Right. Well, he was an engineer.
Right, but he listened to what musicians were telling
Right.
him and made practical steps towards producing products for them. Maybe that type of person who's like, I don't play guitar. I'm not going to like throw my own like hopes and dreams into what a guitar should be and say what everyone else should like because of my opinion. I'm going to listen to the team here, people who have been building these instruments for a long time. I'm going to listen to people who play them. I'm going to shift the company in that direction because that's the smart thing to do with a company is to make products for the consumers that they want.
Right. Well, I think there's definitely a lot to that like whoever comes in like can't afford to strong arm bad ideas.
Right.
You know,
I almost feel like all this nonsense that you know the past CEO Henry came up with was him like trying to form some sort of like innovative legacy on his way out or something like that. It's like, I'm the guy who invented this new tuner style that's on all guitars for the rest of history.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, he just flopped on the idea.
Oops.
Like he was dreaming too big to leave a legacy or something.
Right.
Or here's the, you know, the Gibson X. This is going to be the future of guitar, and I'm going to be in the history books with this one. Like,
yeah. And
it felt like that's what he was trying to do.
And I think like certain innovations like that would have worked. Like everyone at this point, like, and if you've ever listened to this show, maybe that's not the sentence. Sorry, I suddenly just got real tired.
That burrito hit the bottom of your gut.
I think, you know, we've talked about this before. Obviously, we did the Gibson 2016 spoof.
Right. We don't typically cover the news with Gibson very often because there's usually a lot of it.
There's both a lot and like not
it's like
very much.
every 10 minutes is another thing about them.
So here's another guitar from them. Oh, look, here's a bunch of like pastel guitars for $5,000 a piece.
Oh, hey, here's an article saying they're going to be bankrupt. Another article saying they're going to be bankrupt. Here's an article that says they're bankrupt. I don't want to cover every part of that, but this is like, I think this is significant.
So a couple different angles, a couple different things I want to say that you've kind of touched on, is one, to finish my thought on like the legacy.
I thought this was going to be a lot sillier.
On the legacy, on the legacy brand of like establishing his legacy. That's fine. Do it one instrument line at a time.
Oh, yeah.
2015 was a disaster. Not because like some of the guitars I played from 2015 were great, but like I also couldn't figure out, like as a person just coming in who didn't want to learn something new, like I couldn't get the robot tuners to work in store. I couldn't manually tune them because it just felt so like I felt like I was gonna break it.
Yeah.
The rest of it, the fretboard was a little wider. I didn't mind that because I've never really played Gibson anyway.
I was fine with the brass nut thing.
The brass nut thing is like things like that. Like I didn't really have an issue with. But the fact that they decided like we're gonna put robot tuners on all but 3 models that we make, and those models were all signature line models that were like $4,000 or $5,000. They finally did, I think, get it right when they took all of those features and put it on the high performance line, which is what they should have done in the first place.
Manually turning those tuners felt like fighting against a electronic motor in a kid's toy. Like if you were turning like the wheel on a remote controlled car
the wrong direction,
it felt like fighting against that. I sat in their presentation space at NAMM, the first year we went to NAMM, or the second year or whatever, and tried to get one of those Robo Gibsons to tune, and it completely crapped the bed. And I tried for a while, and would not tune.
And that was kind of like what my in-store experience was.
They came to market with that across the board, and it's like complete failures like that. It seems like every 6 months they were doing another thing that reminded you of how bad that was.
So
because they're doing a new bad thing.
So to actually answer your original question, I don't think being or not being a guitar player matters.
Right.
And I think when Gibson was first, and when people were first talking about Gibson being bankrupt like two years ago, I saw a few places where people were like, well, of course they're going bankrupt. Have you ever seen Henry J play guitar? He's awful. And I'm like,
I'm awful at guitar.
So like,
let me run the company. I'll do better than him.
And then, you know, people were like, well, Leo Fender was an engineer, and well, he knew what he was good at, and this and that, and whatever. Like,
are they proposing that someone who plays guitar very well is also going to be good at business?
Well, it's like,
I know a lot of musicians.
I guess the
idea are not good at business.
I guess the idea is that like, that you need somebody who's like both
understands the product,
and they're saying, well, he doesn't understand the product. I'm like, it's fine if you don't understand the product. just make sure you listen to the people who do.
Yeah.
Like-
Hire people that do and
You
fire
know-
them when they have failures. There you go. I
Weird.
solved it for you.
Sounds like you're establishing a merit-based corporate structure. No, but legitimately, like, if you have your design team come up and say, "Hey, we have this idea. We really think it could work." Like, I don't know, product test it. Like, I want to know if Gibson is product testing a $5,000 pastel Les Paul.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, if they product tested the M2s, like, everybody was like, "This is freaking awesome." Like
Yeah.
a $400 Gibson in crazy colors, like, we're in.
Yeah.
But
I still want one of the strawberry pink ones.
when they take those same colors and release them a year or two later as custom shop
for like $6,000 or
for
whatever.
like, I think they were like 35, $4,000, something
yeah,
like
might
that.
as well be 6
Everyone looks at it and goes like,
What are you doing?
"Wait, what?" Like, and so, you know, that's the thing, is like, I understand trying to create hype. You're trying to create hype by doing
Sure.
new fun things and whatever, but you have to do it at a level that understands who your consumer base is.
I just think there's just been so many mistakes that anytime there's a little thing that's a little weird, people are like, again,
yeah.
you're doing a weird thing again. And it's like they could do weird stuff if their core product range met consumer expectations. And then if they could stay out of the news for a while for their finances and for other issues,
sure,
I
guarantee
consumer confidence
you're
in
not,
their quality control.
You're not doing your marketing team any favors when you've got guitars sitting on the shelves at stores, and your market research people are calling the stores and saying, "Hey, yeah, we noticed you guys have had the same like 10 Les Paul standards on the wall for the last 6 months. Like, what's going on?" And they're saying like, "Oh, this is what our customers are saying." And then your CEO goes on some like newspaper and says like, "Well, you see, the problem is the mom and pop stores don't know how to sell guitars to millennials. Millennials just don't want to play guitar anymore."
What you've missed, Henry, is that those mom and pop stores are still selling guitars to those millennials. They're selling different guitars. Guitars are still walking out the door just fine.
Yeah. And I'm
Because
sure plenty of them
issues
are.
with the Gibson.
I'm sure
guitars.
plenty of them are 2 humbucker maple cap mahogany body guitars with set necks.
Yep. It's fully possible. All right, let's get into the last ad and get out of
Hey,
here.
before we do that, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Gun Street Wiring Shop. They sent us this guy,
Super Rich Steve.
and they sent us this guy.
What does it say on there?
Long live the cone.
Long live the cone. I forget that reference. Oh, it's because I painted an ice cream cone on the.
I'm still
Mustang.
trying to find some time to get those put in, and we're gonna do some video work. Looking forward to that. Thanks also to Yellow Cake Pedals, makers of
The Furry and Fried.
Ryan's.
It's a great double-sided drive pedal here. I've got a demo up for it. There's a fuzz on one side and a drive on the other.
There you go. And last but of course not least, Sinusoid Pro Audio Couture, makers of these fine cables.
Yep, these two here got cables all over the place from Sinusoid. They're fantastic. You're going to love them. Sasquatch speaker cables. Beefiest speaker cables I've ever seen in my life, as thick as Bigfoot's thigh, his upper thigh. I'm not talking lower.
Upper thigh or inner thigh? Outer thigh?
We're talking about thickness here. It's the inner
Earlier
and the outer.
Earlier you said just inner.
Well, it's upper and outer.
All right. This last ad was sent by Judson Svek. This guitar, you know what it reminds me of is space.
It reminds me of space, like a space in a house or a space.
Like space, kind of like, I don't know, like kind of like a Final Frontier of sorts.
Interesting.
And maybe Voyaging?
Is that okay, this is obviously a Star Trek guitar. Is that the number of the Voyager? Because it says USS Enterprise on it.
No, it just says Space, the Final Frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise.
Okay, I got you.
It's a 5-year mission.
Well, don't drop names of other starships into this to confuse me, Steve. Like start mentioning like the Discovery or something like that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this is an Epiphone that's been styled to look like the Enterprise.
I did not realize, because I didn't look that closely at the pictures, that this is actually designed to look like the Enterprise A.
Right. The original Enterprise.
No, that's
right?
the second Enterprise.
That's the second Enterprise.
The Enterprise A was the second Enterprise.
Interesting.
I believe it's the one from now. It's of course
Well, let me look up
that
this.
is an A. That is an A.
Yeah.
But the copy says, "The sharper axe, adopt, don't shop." Star Trek Enterprise themed custom guitar in acrylic paints. This Epiphone Les Paul Special has new life as an accent inspired by the Enterprise from Star Trek. Boldly go where no musician has gone before with rugged panel-style paint job and the ship's designation on the neck and body. Perfect for kids, fans of Star Trek The Next Generation, which was the Enterprise D,
Yeah.
and guitarists who love gray tones. Not great tones, gray tones. Perfect for kids, fans of Star Trek. This guitar was rescued from a local pawn shop. We filled in the dings, applied some new color, and tightened up the wiring. Plays like new. There are some dings. Yeah, it's the NCC-1701-A, I believe.
I mean, I'm looking at pictures of the ship right now, and I like what they did on the edges where they get that gray line sort of thing on the
Yeah,
side.
I thought that was cool.
There's some execution here that I have issue with,
I don't-
especially for $275. Like,
No, I thought it was just is it $75 shipping?
yeah, which is kind of ridiculous.
I don't understand what's going on the front here.
Yeah, they're trying to do this like metal plate sort of look by doing different colors of gray in different shapes, and they're failing. It just doesn't look quite right. I wouldn't right now. I don't have advice on how they could make it look correct. I'm trying to look for a better picture of the saucer section, but there's just a lot of elements here where the execution isn't quite right. Like you can see some really rough paint tape lines on the back of this thing, and that continues across the guitar. It's just the execution's not great, but I do dig the concept. I would enjoy seeing this concept done better. You can really see some orange peel texture and some rough edges from the tape on the front of the guitar. So I don't know. They obviously got some sort of decal to do the lettering because it's not as sloppy as the rest of it. But if you're in a Star Trek themed band, I mean, you kind of gotta get it. I guess. I think my favorite part, and it's like a secret thing just for the person playing it, is the big letters on the back of the headstock.
I actually think I really like that.
The big NCC-1701-A across the full length of the back of the neck with the red stripes. That part does it for me. If the rest of the guitar was just flat gray, it would be enough for me. You know, it would be enjoyable. What do you think of the price of this thing, though?
If it was 200 flat,
what do these go for unmodified? Like this is just
like $100.
Yeah, it's a $100 Epiphone. It's got two humbuckers, but it has the wraparound bridge. I'm not going to do any charge for the art on this.
I didn't see like the close up of like how bad some of those tape lines were.
Yeah.
So that's certainly bothersome. But far more importantly, this ship,
yes,
the NCC-1701-A, was used, where it's the ship in Star Trek 4, 5, and 6, the films, and in the Kelvin timeline, Star Trek Beyond.
Okay.
So it's seen at the end of Star Trek 4, and then again in 4, 5, and 6.
Right.
Not in the Next Generation, but some nerd out there is going to say, oh, but they repurposed the sets from those films, 4, 5, and 6, to use as sets on the Enterprise D for Star Trek The Next Generation.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching, listening.
Hey, hold on.
This has been the episode.
Song,
Tell us about the song, Steve.
This week's song was sent to us by Chris Carter, who hosts the Effects Loop podcast.
Go check that show out.
And this song is just called 60 Cycle Hum Mixdown.
Uh-oh.
He says nothing about it. He literally just sent a file.
Have not listened to this yet. I'm wondering if that just means the song is mixed down specifically for us or if it's going to be about us. We're going to find out. Later, guys.
Bye.